That's a big fish.
Are you kidding? Oh my God!
Big mama came out.
This is the biggest fish I've ever killed bullfish.
Sun's out. Buff's out, baby. Good job. What a night. Right here in the rock. Look, there's a big one. Nice shot, Taylor. Get him, Smitty. Doubled up, baby. Hey!
Good shot, man.
There we go. We got two of them now. He's a good gator.
He's a monster.
That's a good gator. Wow. Love bullfish. Come here. Time for a free boat ride in the AMS boat. Hey! Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Bowfishing Buzz presented by AMS Bowfishing and
Megamouth Bowfishing as well.
That's right, man. We are on episode 45, Schmitty.
That's awesome. Rolling right along here.
Rolling along. It's a beautiful day here in Wisconsin. I mean, there's not a cloud in the sky again. Woke up this morning and I was getting dressed and I looked at the temperature and it was 44 degrees.
I know. That gives you
Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. I think definitely in this last probably week and a half, we've definitely felt the transition of summer to early fall. That air's got a little crispness to it.
Oh, it's got that smell.
Yeah.
It's got that smell to it. But also with that, we're getting up into the 80s.
Yeah. Today,
during the daytime.
Today, for example, I think I saw this morning, there's a 37-degree temperature change from the low to the high. Yeah. It's like, okay, yep, welcome to Wisconsin here. We're going to be 40s and 80s in the same day.
It's just so beautiful, though, because the daytimes you're getting highs in the high 70s to low 80s. Night times it drops down into the low 40s.
Yeah.
But then these sunsets we've been having the last couple week and a half, 2 weeks, and the sunrises have just been beautiful.
Yeah, they've been spectacular. You get that fog.
You get a lot of
mixed
fog
in there that just adds to it. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been pretty cool.
And I know along with that, our archery season opens Saturday, Schmitty.
Yes, it does. And you have, Matt, one day to see if you can get it done.
I know.
Because then you got to leave.
I do.
But you're leaving on something that's pretty darn cool as well.
Yeah, Get the old Florida gator hunt coming up here, leaving Sunday for that.
Yeah, and you got it's that Saturday, just from what you've been showing me, that Saturday hunt, I'm guessing you're going to sit Saturday.
Yeah.
It could be an interesting little deal.
I really, I've got a nice buck coming in. He's got a split G2 right at the base. He's got a nice bladed G2 on the left side. And he's a neat deer. He's been coming in quite a bit, all through velvet. Got some really cool pictures of him right in front of the camera with velvet hanging. Mm-hmm. He shed it in one night here. Just last Friday he was still in velvet, and Saturday he had velvet hanging.
Yeah. I think two things here. I think it is, you get those different transitions throughout archery season. The fact that deer's still showing up after he shed his velvet, he didn't change that pattern at all That's really, that would, if that was the deer that I was hunting, I'd be like, wow, okay, good deal. He didn't go nocturnal or move at all. And then number two, like these guys down in Kentucky who have, I think it's like September 1st opener or whatever it is.
Certain
it's early,
areas,
and they get to shoot these beautiful velvet bucks.
I know,
oh, I'm
beautiful.
jealous. I'm jealous. We're like a week away. It's like when our opener starts, pretty much everyth's been out of velvet for roughly a week.
Yeah.
So, but that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was actually, I got a picture of him this morning, Schmitty.
Did you really?
Yeah, it's 7 o'clock or something. He peeked in a little bit and he was gone.
Yeah, that's all you need though.
He peeked in under the apple tree there, and must not have been a lot of apples laying there because he kind of left really quick. Yeah, but he was there again this morning. And the weird thing is, Derek, I'm getting pictures of him at 11:30.
See, and that's what's wild.
In the morning.
He's bedding close. He's
getting pictures of him at 10 to 3 in the afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and he'll come back at 6:30.
That's wicked.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's a killable deer in 5 days here.
Right. And I'm really hoping, I really would like to put a tag on him right away Saturday. And I know that sounds kind of funny that I want to end my season right away, but if I do, I might get a chance to go down with my buddy Dennis Redden in Kentucky.
God, yeah. I've been telling you for years, man.
Down there.
You got a heck of an opportunity down there.
Yeah.
Dennis is always on good deer. So.
Mm-hmm. And then along with that, my wife is probably going to start, she's going to go archery hunting again this year.
Oh,
so
cool.
Be able to spend more time with her in the woods if I do tag out right away. So I'm not worried about it all, about tagging out. I'll film. I'll maybe go on to Kentucky. So I'm ready for the season. I've been practicing back here in the shop, so I'm ready.
You sent me a Snapchat last night.
Yep.
There was 3 dots on a block target. Boy, those dots were center punched.
Bink.
Yeah. Yep, that looked pretty good.
Heck yeah. So, with that, we'll kind of get into our little podcast here, little intro. Oh, one thing, we had the pleasure, Derek, last week.
That's right. Yeah.
Of and I don't know if a lot of you know this, but there is another bowfishing podcast that is out there. Playing Hooky Bowfishing Podcast by Captain Cody Klaus out of Minnesota. And he actually called us up 2 weeks ago and asked if we would be on there. And Derek and I were on his podcast last week, and it's available on all your favorite streaming services out there. So does a great job on his podcast. He's got a lot of neat people that he has come on there and talk with him on that. And so, another option out there.
Yeah.
And that's great. That's so great, for our sport. Because look at archery. How many podcasts are on bow hunting and deer hunting and turkey hunting and all kinds of stuff.
I think it was cool, too, when we were talking to him last week. First of all, it is very weird to be on the other end of a podcast.
Isn't that weird?
It was actually, I loved it. I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah.
You're not sitting like, what have you and I been doing for the last hour and a half? Getting ready for this podcast, getting information. It's always in the back of my head throughout the week, throughout those 2 weeks. Okay, what can we talk about? What are we going to do here? How can we tie it into the situation, that you're leaving for Gators next week, the whole deal. And to be able to just kind of sit back and answer some questions, man, that was relaxing.
It was
fun. That was cool.
Yep.
But I listened to it this morning, actually, and Cody does a great job. And what was really cool when we were on with him, he stated that we were a big inspiration for him to start the bowfishing podcast that he has. He said, he said, listening to you guys, I think it was like a year and a half ago, 2 years that he started. He said, honestly, listening to you guys was a big inspiration. And I was like, I was just sitting back here. I was like, that's
cool.
awesome. Yep. That's exactly what we're doing it for,
Absolutely.
But that was really cool. Check out Plain Hooky Podcast, Captain Cody Klaus.
That's right. And like I said, any of your favorite streaming networks, he's out there. So yeah, check out the Playing Hooky Bowfishing Podcast by Cody Klaus. Yeah. And we're going to get into, in the past, we were doing a bunch of the BAA, which is the Bowfishing Association of America, some of their records, and now they are coming back out with their records online so we can all see them. So let's get back into the records of things.
We got a nice little list here.
We do. We've got a nice list, and I probably didn't go down very far, but I was like, I got to kind of keep this.
Great. We
started somewhere.
You got probably a dozen of them on here.
Yeah.
So I'll start it out here, Matt.
Go ahead.
Congrats to Landon Long on his Kentucky BAA Youth Short Nose Gar record, 5.7 pounds. Congrats to Landon. Always cool to see those youth records getting broke.
Yep. And then to Addison Lay on his BAA Arkansas State record Blue Catfish, 22.4 pounds.
Awesome. Larry Pickens, congrats. BAA West Virginia State record Grass Carp.
Oh, yeah, it's a tanker.
69.4 pounds. That's a big fish right there.
Yep. And then we've got Jacob Kinney on his BAA Vermont State record and BAA World record Rudd, 3.4 pounds.
Nice. Oh, this one hits a little close to home here, Matt. Chris Beal, congratulations. BAA Wisconsin State record Grass Carp, 58.6 pounds. I wonder where he shot that fish.
I don't know. That's a big grass carp for Wisconsin.
That's a big grass carp for Wisconsin. That's awesome.
And Chris has shot some big fish. He shot the biggest common in our AMS Big 20 tournament.
Oh, okay.
And Wisconsin, the Bowfishing Association here in Wisconsin, also has a little jackpot side pot thing for yearly long for the heaviest certain species. And this year it was the common carp, and his was leading that category.
Yeah.
And then I went down to Green Bay and I shot that 38, and then I bumped him. And then he came back a couple weeks later and bumped me with the 42 or something like that. Yeah, so
my gosh,
he also won.
Cool.
So Chris has been shooting some big fish.
Yeah, Chris is on the big ones. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Good job, Chris.
Yep. Moving on with the records, we've got Corey Claggs on his BAA Youth, Minnesota, and BAA World Record Bullhead, 2 pounds.
Nice.
That's a big bullhead.
What do we got for a name here, man?
Lyric Lay.
Lyric Lay, congrats on her BAA Youth Oklahoma and Youth World Record. Wow. Green sunfish, 0.4 pounds. Mm-hmm. Nice shooting, Lyric.
That's a good shot on that fish.
Yeah,
right
heck
there.
yeah.
Yep. Then we've got Mike, sorry if I don't get this right, Klosterboer on his BAA Minnesota State record Silver Red Horse, 8.1 pounds. That's a big red horse.
That is a big red horse. Good Lord.
That is a tank.
Glusterbauer. Nice shooting.
Glusterbauer, yep.
Hunter Bushi, congratulations. BAA Youth New York State record. Mere Carp, 16.7 pounds. Very nice. That's a cool looking fish.
And to round them out for today, we've got William Cobb on his BAA Louisiana State record blue catfish.
Oh, my.
73 pounds.
That's a big fish, Matt.
That'll eat your head, Schmidt.
Yeah, you could put your whole body in that fish's mouth.
Yeah, that's a tanker right
Good
there.
Lord. Nice shooting, William. Good Lord.
Yeah, so congrats to all those on your BAA records. And if you want to know how to get a BAA record, you join the Bowfishing Association of America. And for whatever state that you live in, or if you travel to different states, you can go ahead and look at what those records are. And if you shoot something close by, you can submit a form and do. Right there, they've got all the information you need to submit a form for a record fish and what you have to have and what kind of video you have to have and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think something too here, Matt, just in case anyone out there is listening, if you shoot a record of any kind with any kind of certification, send that on over to us here at Megamouth. We love to post that. If you're okay with it, we would be privileged to show off that big fish you shot. I know we've done that a couple times in the past. Just to let everyone know, I think a lot of times guys will see these records and be like, oh, well, how heavy was that fish I shot 2 weeks ago? That fish was close. And then all of a sudden you kind of, I got to go see if I can get that record. And all of a sudden you kind of got a little bit of a frenzy going on. Oh, can I beat that? Can I beat that type of deal?
Absolutely.
So send them in.
Absolutely. So, Schmitty.
Yeah.
Today we're going to get to the meat of the topic here.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the meat and taters of boat fishing right
Meat
here.
and taters, exactly.
It is.
Exactly, yeah, yeah. So today we're going to be talking about the Cyprinus Carpio.
Ooh.
Boy, I sound smart when I
It
say
does.
that.
Yes, you just gained a couple IQ points there.
Yeah, Cyprinus Carpio. Better known as the Common Carp, Schmitty.
Yep.
And,
Of
of course,
staple in the bow fishing world.
definitely. He's got the crown on his head.
He does. Yep.
He has a crown on his head. I know the first fish that I ever shot bow fishing was a Common Carp.
Yeah.
On a big old plain flowage right here. That was the first fish I ever shot. And I think that fish was just maybe like 8 pounds or so, and I thought that thing was a tank.
A monster.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
I looked at that thing, I'm like, are you kidding me? This thing's huge.
Yep.
So in today's podcast, we're going to be talking a little bit about the Common Carp, kind of the habitats it lives in, how they got introduced, some different facts and stuff about the Common Carp with that. And remember, you can also follow along on the AMS YouTube channel on the video podcast of this as well.
Absolutely.
And we're I'm going to try to find now that's what I got to do when we get done here. I have to go try to find a bunch of footage of Common Carp.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm sure through the years we've got a good amount of footage that you can look through for Common Carp.
Yeah, it's just going through and finding all that stuff and then dragging it in and making a timeline and stuff.
Like I've said before, when I've had to look at your Premiere timeline, I walk in there, I'm like, oh, it just gives me a headache just looking at it. That's a lot of work in there, but they're pretty cool.
So I guess to get things going here, Schmitty, the Common Carp is native to Europe and Asia, but the species has been introduced worldwide and is included on the list of the world's 100 worst invasive species.
Yep.
Now, when it says worldwide, Derek, I kind of did some searching on this.
Yeah.
And there's actually, it's worldwide except for 2 certain places.
Okay.
Do you know where those 2 certain places are?
So these places, they're not considered invasive in these 2
They
places?
they don't have them.
Oh,
They
okay.
don't have them.
Oh, boy. Okay. Are we talking like regions of the entire world?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's somewhere far north.
There's 2 places where there's really no carp, or they haven't been introduced there.
I mean, are there carp up by the North Pole, Antarctica, or I don't even know? Is that where it's crazy cold?
That's one of them.
It is. Okay. Gosh, I don't even know. Iceland.
The North and the South Poles.
Okay, gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Can you imagine some guy trucking along with carrying a cart when it's like -40 degrees with a female and a male carp? going across the glaciers and the ice.
He's
and all
drilling
that
through 8 feet of ice
Yeah.
to see if he can see a carp down there that he can
Little
somehow
narwhal comes up and says, "Get them out of here."
Yeah. He'd probably get it stolen by a leopard seal or something, polar bear. Okay, so they are literally everywhere except for where it is like too cold for a lot of things to survive.
Yeah.
That just shows how invasive they are, honestly.
Right. And that's why they're on the list of the 100 worst invasive species.
Yeah.
The common carp is on that.
Yeah, they're bad news. I mean, they're fun to shoot,
list.
but we shoot them because they're bad news for everything else.
They're just so prolific.
Yeah.
They just take over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. You had the scientific name there, Matt, and I actually just found a little bit of a description here. I'm going to read this off here. Color and proportions are extremely variable in common carp, but scales are always large and thick. And as I'm reading that, I think to all the times that we are out bow fishing, and you shoot at a fish, and this happens on buffs a lot too, but you'll shoot a fish and your arrow is going right for that fish. You think you smoke them, and then all of a sudden you are bringing nothing back in. And you're like, what in the world? I thought I hit that fish. You bring your arrow in, and there's a big 50-cent size scale on your arrow. You're like, oh, those scales are so thick. But there are 3 subspecies with slightly different scale patterns that are recognized. There's the Carpio communis, which has the regular scales, the Carpio specularis, which is the mirror carp. Large scales running along the side of the body in several rows with the rest of the body naked. And I thought that was an interesting name, Carpio specularis. Like it's a spectacular sight to see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
cool.
cool.
Kind of cool. And then the Carpio coacius with few or no scales on the back. And a lot of people call that a leather carp.
Right.
Yeah. And I know I didn't really know that was a separate species. I just thought it was kind of a strange looking mirror carp.
Yep.
And digging in and reading them, like, oh, that's a whole nother subspecies.
Right.
But yeah, that was kind of cool.
A lot of that depends. Like the mirror carp is like the lateral lines.
Yeah.
Where you have some scales on the lateral lines and then no scales below that. Mix and match different size scales on your mirror carps.
Yeah.
That's what we have around here. We don't very seldom here in Wisconsin, anyways. Do we have leather carp?
Yeah, I haven't seen them, but the couple pictures I have seen, that is a great name for them. They literally, I feel like if I'd run my fingers down those fish, it would feel exactly like leather. It looks like leather. I think it would feel like leather. It's kind of a strange look, kind of cool, but
Yep.
just kind of weird looking.
And they do have different categories for records. You have your common carp, and then you also have records for mirror carp as well.
Right. Yep.
That's actually one of the things that I had written down here, Schmitty.
Stealing your info.
Yeah. So the original common carp was found in the inland delta of the Danube River about 2,000 years ago.
Oh boy!
Derek.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they've been around for a while.
Danube River. I wonder if there's any carp in there right now.
I bet you it's just full of them.
We should go over there sometime.
We should go over there. I don't know where it is, but let's.
Can you imagine being like the first one was found 2,000? Can you imagine if the first Derek Schmidt was found 2,000 years ago in Stratford, Wisconsin? Can you imagine being like
that specific fish?
That specific one.
Yeah.
The first of that one to be
the
found.
OG, the original.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. As far as like food habits go, Matt, I find this actually amazing. Carp are preliminary selective benthic omnivores that specialize on invertebrates that live in the sediments. And that's why I think a lot of times you'll see a feeding carp and all you see is a tail sticking up out of the mud and the muck
big
on the
old
bottom.
Dirt cloud around them.
Newly hatched carp initially feed on zooplankton, copepods, and algae. Young of year carp feed on a variety of macroinvertebrates, including chironomids, caddisflies, which I think caddis are like great trout bait.
Yes. Yeah.
They like put themselves in some kind of little like a caddis leaf or something. They wrap themselves in. If you can get that caddis out of there, supposedly it's like trout crack is what they call it. They love it. But yeah, they also eat insects, crustaceans, annelids, mollusks, fish eggs, fish remains, and plant tubers and seeds, which is why, like you said, Matt, they're so prolific.
Right.
They're eating these other fish eggs. They're eating these sediments, these roots, digging roots up out of the bottom. Pretty soon your game fish habitat, bass, walleyes, bluegills, in a couple of years of there being a established carp population, that whole habitat is gone.
Right.
Because it's just, mud bottom or there's rocks. There's nothing there anymore. And I think that leads to how invasive they are.
Right.
That's what kind of goes into that.
And then you also, along with that, Derek, you have with them filter feeding like that on the bottom, filter feeding the sediment stuff, they release a tremendous amount of phosphorus.
Stuff that's been stored underneath that surface layer on the bottom.
Right, and that later on creates large algae blooms on bodies of water.
Yep. And I saw this too. This is kind of interesting. Carp feed by sucking up mud from the bottom, ejecting it, and then selectively consuming items while they are suspended. That's kind of that. And I've seen videos too on Instagram of like carp when people angle, they fish them with corn.
Yep.
And they'll come and they suck that corn in and spit it out. It's like repeated. It's not like sediment like they're used to, so it's like a physical object, and it's crazy to see how they feed.
In and out motion.
Yeah. And then on here too, it says feeding galleries of carp are easily recognized in shallow waters as depressions in the sediment. Now I have to ask you, Matt, because I can't say I've ever seen that. Have you ever been in a body of water where you see little depressions on the bottom and that you could say, oh yeah, that's where a carp was feeding, or that's where they call them here feeding galleries where the carp are. Have you seen that at all? I can't say I have.
I don't think I have, because the waters are usually so dirty.
Yeah. Okay.
When I'm looking for carp, when we're in a lot of carp.
Sure.
But one thing that I know, Derek, that I see a lot of on a lot of bodies of water that have cattails is there'll be cattails floating out in the middle.
Oh yeah. Right. Yeah.
Or all over wherever the wind is pushing them, because they're feeding all that sediment out around the cattail roots, and pretty soon those cattail roots just bloop, they just pop up and they float away.
And that is crazy to think. Okay, think of shooting a arrow into cattails. You're screwed. You got to go back. You got to work that out of there. It's crazy, and the fact that carp can displace that much sediment and disturb those roots enough that they literally just float up out of the water, that is wild to think of. You can't even pull them out with all your might with a stainless steel arrow, a tip on there to pull it out of there. So that in itself is like, wow, yeah, they do a lot of damage doing that stuff.
Yep. Getting back to what you were saying there about them eating eggs. Now, I heard to where they actually do not eat the eggs.
I've heard the same thing.
What actually happens is your game fish come in there and spawn, and then the carp come in there afterwards and are filter feeding, and they actually just filter the eggs through their
so they don't actually consume them. They just get filtered through the carp when they're feeding.
Right. From what I heard, that the carp do not just go in there and target eggs.
Gotcha.
Is that true or not? I don't know. I have no idea about that.
I've read both sides of that as we were from rather verifiable sites. I've read both of those, so that's kind of up in a mystery yet. Do they physically consume them? Does it go into their bellies? Maybe not, but they ruin them either way.
Correct.
They wreck them.
But no matter what, they still wreck a lot of native fish spawning habitats because of their feeding habitats.
Right. Yep.
And release a lot of phosphorus. I've seen pictures already on bodies of water where they bring in commercial netters, and they'll take an aerial view of that body of water.
Yeah.
Like in July.
Okay.
And it's just a complete algae bloom. Ugh. And then they'll rope off half of that body of water and commercial net, and then put a gate through there so the carp can't get into that area where they commercial. And it's like a night date. It was like a different body of water.
Really?
That water is just so beautiful looking, and right on the other side of that line, it's just a complete algae mess.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. I know just I've been out to the Dakotas a couple times. Yeah. Devil's Lake ice fishing.
And that's a weird thing.
What, ice fishing?
No, Devil's Lake though.
Oh yeah, isn't that strange?
Very strange.
Think of the fish that you've shot in the Dakotas, man. I mean, big fish.
Yeah.
Big commons.
Yeah.
They are scared out of their wits of common carp. Let me rephrase that. We would go out there, we would fish with a guide, okay? They'd have us go out there, and as working here, when I'd go out there, I'd ask him, oh my gosh, you guys got to have huge carp over here. And no, we don't. And we do not want any. This whole industry would be ruined if we discovered carp in here. And they talked about a carp that someone saw 5 years ago, like it's this mythical legend that someone saw it. So then no one wants to fish there because that could be bad fishing from the carp. But out there where perch fishing, mostly is such a huge industry out there. There's a guide service. There's probably 50 of them on Devil's Lake. They are so scared, and rightfully so, that these fish could find their way to Devil's Lake specifically and ruin that fishery, because it's a once in a. I mean, it's one of the best places to fish in the world. And if you get carp that come in there, that could totally ruin the fishery. Now there's got to be carp in the lake, but maybe not to a point where they're taking over.
No, from what I heard, Dirk, There is none in there.
See, and that is so crazy to me. That blows my mind.
From what I heard, there is no carp in Devil's Lake in North Dakota.
And that's got to lead to why some of the the fishing is so crazy good.
I was totally shocked. I went and looked at a bunch of forums and stuff, and they say that there's no carp in Devil's Lake.
Yeah, but they are scared. They are so scared that is going to happen eventually. And I totally agree with them. Yeah, that would take a toll on their livelihood. Right. These guys guide for 4 or 5 months out of the year. And the guy that we talked to, that's his annual income.
Right.
Like, he doesn't have to guide those other couple of years. He might have a side job or something, but they rake in money, taking guys out fishing there. So, yeah, that could ruin a really big industry out there.
Yeah, I just found that very strange because Devil's Lake has probably, tripled in size in the last
it's tripled in size since like 1990 or something. There was a flood. Like, literally, when you're fishing out there, you're fishing on the foundations of old homes.
Right.
You're fishing next to the top of a silo that's 30 feet underneath the water. Yep. It's crazy how much it flooded. Or the guy told me that lakefront properties now were like 3 houses back.
Wow.
25 years ago, and now they're lakefront because of the flooding.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And you think with all that flooding, all this water coming in, you'd have thought that something
right.
it's just wild to even think of.
It blows my mind that there's no carp in Devil's Lake.
Yeah.
For as big as body of water that is.
Right.
It would seem like a bowfishing paradise to me.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. This one here, I kind of found some mixed timelines on. I was looking for, when the carp were introduced into the Americas, into the United States, and some of them say the early 1880s goes all the way back, and some say all the way back to 1831. But this was pretty cool. I think we touched on this a little bit, but in the early 1880s, Dr. Francis Baird, listen to this now, he was the head of the United States Commission of Fish and Fisheries.
Okay.
He was receiving thousands of letters every year from citizens requesting carp for their private ponds. So he called over to Europe, asked about the fish that they had over there, and the common carp caught his eye because they were prolific, they were large, he thought at the time, pretty looking, which I guess a carp is kind of cool looking.
Orange, goldish
colors. Yep. And then along at that time, the U.S. government were starting to get a little worried about their commercial netting, that we were going to run out of our commercial netting of salmon and other species of fish that we use to eat here.
Yep.
And what they did over in Europe is they ate a lot of their carp. So they thought, well, this would be a great thing to bring over here, and we can use these fish now also for people can use them for their private ponds, and then we can get these into the waterways, and we can commercial fish these for food. Well, that kind of backfired on them.
Yes, it did. Unfortunately, it totally backfired. Not good.
No. I mean, good for us.
Good for us, yeah.
Great for us.
Good for the company here, absolutely. But yeah, and you hear so many things like that. Hundreds of years ago, we introduced something, and pretty soon, oh gosh, this backfired big time.
Remember them damn stink bugs a couple years ago?
Oh,
those like ladybugs or whatever. They were.
They were.
You go out in the fall on like a white garage door on the side of your house there, and there would be like thousands of them.
And they'd be like, they're like those slow moving. They'd move really slow, but if you slap one of those suckers,
they stink like you just stepped a pile of crap.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
And now we have these green little.
Yeah, those are even worse now because they are like they destroy plant habitat.
What do they call them?
Japanese beetle?
I don't know what it is.
Asian beetle? They're like ladybugs, but they're green in color.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. My chickens absolutely love them.
Yeah, I saw you. Matt sends me Snapchat videos of a bunch of these bugs on a leaf, and he's holding his chicken like a machine gun, and the beak of that chicken just.
And they love those things.
Oh, you got your own little. You can just put them out there and get rid of that little problem you got there.
When I go walking over to the raspberry patch, they just follow me. They know what's going to happen, and I go in there and I start shaking all the leaves, and they just are in there, and you can hear them
crunch, crunch, crunch.
Yeah, they're just crunching them up. When I hold them in my hands, I can hear them crunching them out of my hands.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. Just you were on that topic, Matt, about how way back in the day we wanted to introduce them to our ponds. There was a specific article I was reading before we did the podcast here of common carp myths. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to say, it said in the early 1900s, it was believed that carp could survive in residential ponds even after it was dry for months on end because they could burrow down into the mud. And then as soon as there would be a heavy rain or a flood or something, they would be able to, come up out of that mud and survive. Now, since that has been 100% proven to not be true, carp are not doing that. But, not that long ago, we thought that carp could just burrow into any little muddy hole
and live
for months on end.
Yeah.
But that was probably right around when we realized how invasive they were. People were like, "Oh my gosh," that's probably when that rumor started running that they can burrow down into some mud and
Sure.
But yeah, I saw that. I'm like, "Oh, that's interesting. I've never heard of that before."
Right.
But yeah,
right.
it has since been proven not to be true. Yeah. Yep.
Some of the habitat. Carp prefer large bodies of slow or standing water and soft vegetative sediments. They prefer to be in groups of 5 or more, and that is so true because a lot of times if you see one, you'll see a couple more right behind it or on the side of it. So that's exactly right, like the carp are. They live in temperate climates in fresh or slightly brackish waters in temperatures of 37 to 95 degrees. They can easily survive winter in ponds and lakes that are frozen over as long as free water remains below the surface. Carp can tolerate water with very low oxygen levels by gulping air at the surface. And I mean, how many times, I know I've seen that a lot on Pete and Well in August, you'll see them up on the surface. And a lot of times I think they're filter feeding, but you'll also see them, the top of their lips are out of the water.
Yeah. What do you call them? Happy carp? Or are those ones that jump?
Happy carp are a carp that you just see that just go, they jump out of the water and they land another is happy carp. And everybody's like, oh, go over there. There's a carp over there. I'm like, dude, you ain't going to shoot that fish.
Yeah, he's so far gone by now.
He's gone.
Yeah.
Every time you see a carp, oh, there's one over there. He just jumped out of the water.
We got to go get it.
Yeah, good luck shooting that one.
Yeah. I got a couple of stats here on probably the most scary topic when it comes to common carp, and that is reproduction.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna read these highlights here, and then I'm gonna go through a little bit more in depth here. Breeding and spawning season is spring and early summer, and get this, Matt, year round in warm, hot tropical areas.
Yeah.
They can spawn year round.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Could you imagine let's go shoot some spawning carp. It's December.
Yeah.
If that was like what it was like around here, that'd be wild.
Right.
That would be crazy. Number of offspring on average, and this is a 45 centimeter carp, okay, 300,000 eggs. Yes. And as they get bigger, that number only grows.
Correct.
Time of hatching from the time that they lay those eggs, 4 days. 4 days. I don't know the traditional what a walleye is or a bluegill, but that seems wicked fast to me.
It does seem fast.
I mean, that seems crazy. Age of sexual reproductive maturity, 3 to 5 years for a female, same for a male. So these are...
That's fast.
Yeah, it's fast. You got, if you think of a fingerling muskie, you don't have muskies that are 8 inches long. Those fish aren't...
Right.
They're not reproducing.
No.
These carp they grow so fast, they need barely any time to be reproducing themselves. Carp generally spawn in the spring and early summer depending upon the climate. They segregate into groups in the shallows to spawn. Carp prefer shallow waters with dense macrophyte cover. Males externally fertilize the eggs, which is what we see when they're, we call it the term.
We call it pushing.
Yeah,
right.
They're pushing against that female. Which the females scatter over macrophytes in a very active manner. The eggs stick to substrate upon which they are scattered.
Right.
Rocks, weeds, whatever they can grab onto. A typical female, like I said, about 45 centimeters, may produce 300,000 eggs, with some estimates as high as 1 million over the breeding season.
Right.
Which, that's crazy. Incubation is related to the water temperature and has been documented at 3 days at temperatures of 25 to 32 degrees Celsius. Fry average 5 to 5.5 millimeters in total length. Temperature, stocking density, and availability of food influence individual growth. By the time the fish reach 8 millimeters, the yolk has disappeared and they begin to actively feed like the adults. So you have these small fish. Okay, I don't know what the death rate is of all these eggs that get laid, but these fish, like I said, as far as sexual maturity, they are starting to feed just like the adults when they are so small.
Tiny.
It'd be so small, But yeah, males typically become sexually active in 3 to 5 years, and so do the females.
Right.
That's just wicked. They're reproductive machines. It's impressive how they can just keep pumping it out.
Yeah.
Making more. It's wild. It's unlike anything else, and just like all the other invasive species, that's what leads to them overtaking areas.
Yeah.
Being unwanted guests.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. And getting back to their spawning habitats here, Derek, unlike, you say, a big head or a silver, where when they release eggs, they need that buoyancy.
Yeah. Yep. They go down the current.
They go with the current.
Yep.
Well, here with carp, every body water, pretty much in the United States, has some slack water somewhere, some back bays, and they just go crazy in there. Generally, when the water temperatures are between 60 to 70 degrees, May, June, depending on latitude and longitude,
Right.
on that as well.
Yep.
I know that, like, for example, you were talking about 300,000 eggs is your average.
Yep. That's a relatively small
That's a
female.
small female carp that can do that. You take a 20-pound female, 2 million eggs.
Oh. Well, think of your fish that you shot, a 38-pound female, Matt?
Right. You take some of these giant commons.
Oh,
what
man.
can, what is it, 4 million?
Yeah, who knows what that equates to as those fish get bigger and more mature. I mean,
I wouldn't want to be the one to have to cut open a 38-pound common and have to count all those eggs.
All right, let's get to counting 1, 2, 3, 4.
Better have a good
scale.
scale.
Yeah, something. All right, I got a question for you, Matt.
Yeah.
There's a report of the oldest documented common carp, and I want you to guess at how old that fish was.
I'm going to say probably 40 years old.
Okay,
somewhere in
very
there.
close. 47 years old.
47 years old.
47 years old. Other reports of 17 to 20 years are more typical in the wild.
Yeah.
I mean, but still, that is crazy.
Yeah.
It's just wild.
Yep.
That's crazy.
I was kind of basing that off of the buff that I shot a couple years ago, that 70-pound buff.
Okay, and what?
The DNR took the scale, and they went to age that, and that came back between 22 and 23 years old.
Okay, wow.
So it's kind of I was kind of guessing that off that buff there.
Sure.
Also getting back to your spawning, Derek, when you're talking about in tropical climates where they can spawn year-round.
Yeah.
Here in Wisconsin, carp can spawn multiple times a year also. It depends on rising waters.
Okay, sure.
Rainfall, and once again, temperature. We were down on the Mississippi River a couple years ago, back in August. And that morning we got out nice and early when the sun come up there, and they were spawning all over the grass.
I remember that. I know the pictures and footage of that you were telling me about. Yeah, it was mid-August. It was hot.
August.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yep.
And I guess that shows, that's fluctuating water levels there.
Absolutely. So they can spawn several times a year.
That's wild. That's wild. All right, man, I got a little bit of a quiz for you here.
Yeah.
Okay, got this written down. So your life got so busy, let's just theoretically say that you are so busy, you got all these gators to shoot, all these big bucks to kill. You're just going crazy at the shop. You get to bowfish one day for common carp out of the entire year here in Wisconsin. Okay, you only get to go out one time. What is the month? What is the day of that month? What are the water temperatures? What are the conditions like in the sky? Narrow down and specify your one day that you would pick throughout the entire year to go out and say that you could have a good outing shooting common carp.
May 30th.
Okay, that was way quicker than I was expecting. Okay, May 30th.
Yeah, Memorial Weekend.
Okay, that's typically where that falls. What are you wanting for water temperature?
I don't even look at water temperature. I know it's going to happen.
Really?
Either they're going to be spawning or there's going to be fish swimming all over the place.
Okay, and you probably would prefer actually pre-spawn for big fish, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. You want in clear sunny skies?
Absolutely.
So you can see better.
Okay. Absolutely.
Gotcha. May 30th.
Yeah.
Everyone write that down. May 30th.
That's for Alaska.
Oh, okay. Here's a quick attempt at a cover-up to hide his best day here. May 30th. Okay, cool. Cool.
Memorial Weekend.
Yeah. Gotcha.
That's always a good one.
I think too, Matt. I got this written down in my notes here. Like when we go down to Kentucky, we'll shoot some common carp, but it seems like the size down there doesn't quite compare.
I know.
Which you think, down south, bowfishing. We're up here in Wisconsin. I don't know if a lot of people who aren't really into the sport think of Wisconsin as a amazing place to go shoot fish. But honestly, I think Wisconsin common carp can compete with any state.
They can.
Would you agree?
I would agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got some toads.
I mean, you weigh barrels in the Big 20, and you'll realize how big of commons we got rolling in here.
Yeah.
I mean, you shot a 38, and what did you say Beal shot with 40?
I think it was 42 is what he ended up with the record there with Wisconsin Bowfishing Association.
Yeah. I mean, those are toads anywhere.
Yeah.
Those are big fish.
I know, like when they used to have the Wisconsin Open, there'd be 43s, 44s. Yeah.
Do you know the record offhand?
I do. I'll get into that here.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
absolutely.
All right. Sounds good.
I do. Actually, you'll find this very surprising because you don't hear about this state.
Okay.
When you think about this, okay? The Bowfishing Association of America's world record Common Carp. This is a world record.
World record.
You have to be a BAA member to have your record in this, okay?
Yep.
Was shot by Brian Pokorny in 2011.
Oh, okay.
It weighed 67 pounds, 6 ounces.
67.6. Oh.
Yeah. Now,
yeah, this is what I'm interested
in.
in.
The state that this was shot in would be one that I would have never guessed this probably in 20 tries. Idaho.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Idaho.
Is it a big popular lake in Idaho?
I don't know, but I'm going to be checking out the bodies of water there, and I'm going to do some researching for Idaho.
You always hear about Cascade.
I heard Idaho's a beautiful state.
Yeah.
I would love to go there, and I think it would be kind of cool to go there and just check out what their bowfishing is like there.
I wonder if it's on Cascade. There's crazy perch fishing on Cascade.
Oh, the Cascade's got those giants.
They look like they don't even look like perch, but
right.
Idaho.
Yeah.
Wow. Why have we never
67 pounds?
You'd think if there's a 67 shot out of there ought to be some 60s and 50s coming out of there a little bit more commonly.
Mm-hmm. You'd think so.
Just doesn't get pressured, maybe.
Yep.
Huh. Yep. That's got to be our next trip, going down to Idaho.
Yep. The Bowfishing Association of America record for Wisconsin was shot by Pete Gregoire in 2020, and that carp weighed 43 pounds, 6.4 ounces.
Okay, 43. Gotcha.
Now, the Wisconsin Bowfishing Association Common Carp record for Wisconsin was shot in 2009 by Sarah Pomeranian, weighing 45 pounds, 15 ounces.
I remember that last name, Sarah.
Yeah. Yep. I remember when she shot that fish.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That was on Lake Winnebago.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Yep. And now a lot of you might be wondering, well, if Sarah shot a 45-pound common, how can Pete have the record at 43 pounds for the BAA? I know that might confuse some of you out there, so let me try to explain it the best I can. So when Sarah shot that 45-pound common, she probably was not a member of the BAA.
Sure.
All right. So for you to have your records in these categories, you have to be a member. All right. So Sarah was a member of the Wisconsin Bowfishing Association.
But not the Bowfishing Association of America.
Right. And so along with that, you can also have the Wisconsin Alternative Method. All right.
Okay.
So just for example, say you went out and you shot a 47-pound common.
Okay. Yep.
You might have but you're not a member of the Wisconsin Bowfishing Association.
Yep.
Well, then you would have the record for the Wisconsin Alternative Method, which is bow or spear.
Okay,
right?
Gotcha.
So if you're kind of confused over, well, how can the BAA record be less than the Wisconsin Bowfishing Association record? That's the reason why, because you have to be a member of those clubs for your records to hold.
Oh, gotcha.
All right.
Yep.
So that if that makes any sense to you.
No, yeah, that's good to clarify that, because it sounds weird to someone. Well, what's the record? I don't care about this BAA, whatever. But that's good to clarify that those are separate clubs.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
So there's a little history. You got any other cool facts there about common carp there, Derek?
I'm pretty good here, Matt, but I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
Butterfly carp. I see them a lot, like get shot down in Texas. I see them. What is that? I mean, is that a common carp? What's going on there?
Yeah. Now, you see people that will shoot it like a goldfish. Okay.
Yep.
A goldfish is not a carp.
Okay. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
And people will come up and say, "Hey, is this a?" I've been at a couple tournaments where they say, "Is this a gold carp or a goldfish?"
Okay.
Well, you can tell by the barbells.
Oh, okay, sure. Goldfish
Carp have barbells around their mouth that hang down like those two little worms hanging down the side of his mouth.
They do. Yeah.
I don't really call them a whisker, but more of a little worm-looking things.
Yeah, they're not necessarily stiff.
But you can always tell the difference because a carp species will have barbells. Okay, they just hang down right there. The koi carp, I think, are kind of like, I kind of will use an example of like albino deer here in Wisconsin.
Okay.
You have those, a gene that gets put out there.
A chromosome that keeps getting passed down.
That keeps getting passed on and passed on and passed on. Pretty soon you have these fantails, beautiful looking fish. Just absolutely. I think Idaho has those also.
Okay, yeah, that does ring a bell.
I think Idaho has a lot of those.
Okay.
So I think it's just a chromosome in the gene that started. Maybe somebody dumped one, some type of fantail. I know when I bought some carp from my pond, I bought some fantails.
Did you?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So very easily, I'm sure a couple of fantails were bought somewhere and
found their way to a big body of water.
Into the big body of water. Okay. Somebody dumped them in there, and they just started producing and what we call pushing.
Yeah.
Pushing here in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
During the spawn, and pretty soon you had that chromosome going through couple of those fish here and there, and it just kept getting larger and larger. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, I was curious if while we were looking this stuff up, I was curious if I was going to find anything on that. We've got these 3 different leather carp, mirror carp, common carp, and I was curious if that was going to be included in there. But okay, that makes sense. That it's.
They do have records for butterfly fantail.
Okay.
They do have records for those. And then you also have koi.
Right.
Koi, which were introduced over in Japanese and China.
Very valued fish.
Very valued fish for your ponds. Mm-hmm. But those are also a koi. Now, there are some koi that are goldfish as well that have like black, white, orange.
Sure.
And some of those are goldfish, but you also will have some of those that have the barbels that are carp in there. But you see some of those fish. I was looking for some carp to put in the pond out there,
Yeah.
I wanted some kois and stuff. Some of those fish like you buy are like 4 inches long, 3 inches long. They're little baby ones. Yeah. They're like $1,000 for certain fish.
They're crazy. They're absolutely crazy. I know. Like a full-grown adult.
I'll go there and shoot them.
Oh, I saw a video once. I don't know if it was watching Nat Geo or if it was on Facebook or what, but it was like a 20-pound koi carp, this famous koi carp, and what all had to happen because what they had to do is they had to transport it from one pond to another, and the cost and the insurance on this like $100,000 fish was insane.
Wow.
I'm like, oh my gosh, these things are a lot more valuable than what I had initially thought. You know, but yeah, that's crazy. Imagine out shooting fish, all of a sudden you look down and you see a black, white, and orange koi carp swimming around underneath you. That you'd like stop and be like, what the heck is that?
It's cool. You get over to like Saginaw Bay, Michigan and stuff. They have a lot of the goldfish over there. And I remember the first time I saw a goldfish, I was wading in the water and going through the grass and weeds and stuff.
Oh,
and
really?
all of a sudden I looked and I'm like, holy shit.
What is that? Yeah, that's gotta stop you in your tracks a little bit.
Yeah, it did. It was just it looked like a dang deer hunter in the woods. You know how you can see that blaze orange through the woods? It was just like, boom, there it was.
Wow.
And I missed it. I whiffed. And then that same tournament,
you had goldfish fever.
I did. That same tournament we shot, we chased down a black, white, and kind of spotted one.
Oh, wow.
White, white, black spots and stuff. We chased him around a little bit. We never could catch up to it, and we never got that fish, but it was pretty cool.
I remember, Matt, one of my first times shooting fish, it was you, myself, and Tim, and we saw like an albino dogfish or something.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Mm-hmm. I have never seen one since.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple guys. We tried chasing them down, and we never got an arrow into it, but
I've seen a couple guys in Wisconsin that have shot those. Luke Gerke has a couple of them.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, very cool.
All right, Matt. I think it is time for quote of the day.
Let's do it.
All right.
Quote of the day.
This quote is a little bit different than previous quotes, so just take it with a grain of salt and just try to relate it the best you can.
How does that one thing on the Dan Patrick go?
Stat of the day.
That's it.
Stat of the day. Here comes that. What? Stat of the day.
So we got to come up with a little jingle tone.
Yeah, we do.
Quote of the day.
Yeah, we got to have something on there. Here comes Schmitty's what? Quote of the day. All right, so here's the quote. I'll repeat it twice. That's how I am, man. When I get something, I get it. All right? Here we go again. That's how I am, man. When I get something, I get it. Right? That quote. That's how I am, man. When I get something, I get it. How could you relate that to your bow fishing career, shooting fish, however you can tie that into the bow fishing world?
I'm going to tie that in by taking people that have never really bow fished before, and you know how that can be, shooting at fish, getting that the shot with the refraction and all that stuff, and figuring out where to aim on fish and stuff like that. Women are the best. Female shooters are the best at getting it.
Really?
And when they get it, they get it.
They get it. That's how I am, man. When I get something, I
Yep.
get it.
Once I have seen women catch on so much faster than male shooters.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. They can, I think, because they listen. When you're teaching them, they listen better.
Sure.
And they absorb what you're telling them to do. They do that technique, of how to drawing and bring it back to the corner of your mouth and aiming low and all that stuff and being fast at that. I think they listen better and they practice what you tell them better than males. Okay. Where, a male's like, I got this.
Especially if he has a background in archery.
Absolutely.
He's not going to be able to forget those principles as far as drawing back, anchoring, aiming, with a sight type of deal. It might be easier, actually, if you don't have a background in archery to pick up on all those things. Mm-hmm. Huh, okay.
Yep.
All right.
So when a female archer, bow fisher gets it, she's got it.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I was thinking when I read that, I'm like, okay, if that was turned on me, I would say like the bow fishing bug. Like when you first experience it. Mm-hmm. You're sitting there, oh gosh. Pretty soon, next thing you know, you got a boat, arrows, bow, the whole deal. And when you get something, I get it. That's kind of what I was thinking for. But yeah, that's perfect. That's a great way to tie that in. Mm-hmm. That's cool.
Oh, who said the dang?
Would you like to guess? I'll give you a hint. It's a comedian. And I don't know if you've heard of him or not. I think he's hilarious.
Like an older comedian?
No, he's relatively new age.
He's not like an Andrew Dice Clay kind of guy?
I don't know who that is, but no, it's not him.
So he's not like Eddie Murphy or Bill Murray?
No.
I don't know.
That's good old Theo Von.
Yeah, Theo. Never heard of him.
Okay, he's funny. So that was Theo Von.
Okay. So
I'm not sure what he was talking about.
Yeah, I wonder what he was talking about.
Something we maybe want to talk about on the podcast, but that's exactly how he said it. That's how I am, man. When I get something, I get it. And he said it so, it doesn't really, it's kind of a strange quote, but he said it with such ferocity.
Mm-hmm. I'm just right now thinking ahead, Derek, of what we can have on our next podcast. And you know what? I've got a great idea.
Okay.
We might need to make some more room because we might bring two other guests in here, Derek.
I know what you're going to say, and I would love it. I don't know if they'll love it, but I would love it. I would love it.
Because we'll be fresh back from our Florida Gator hunt, and we'll have Alyssa and Wendy are going to have to join us for their boat fishing for alligator first-time experience.
Yeah, that would be spectacular.
Doing that.
Yeah, that would be really cool. If we can convince them to come on, that would be a spectacular show.
Right.
That would be awesome.
Because I fly out on Sunday, and at first when I found out that I was flying out on Sunday, I'm like, oh, man, I'm going to miss a Packer game. After watching them, I don't really care to watch them again.
Well, I'll tell you this. Aaron Rodgers is mad. He's pissed off. So I feel bad for the Bears.
I feel bad for the players, too, sometimes. I think Aaron's way too hard on. I mean, come on.
These rookie receivers, too. Like, this is their first experience is getting chewed out in their first game. But
yeah, like, come on, dude.
We'll see, I guess.
Why'd you go? I mean, the way they showed the players all on the bench there, they were all like,
oh, yeah.
Why'd you go up to them and talk to them a little bit, sit there in your corner and pout that they're not catching the ball? Or you only threw to him once after he dropped that one, but whatever.
Yeah, I hear you.
But now I guess I can watch them because I guess they played a late game on Sunday.
Oh, there you go. Perfect.
So I will be able to watch them down there in Florida.
Perfect. But yeah, the next time we're back, you will be fresh off a trip of a lifetime. So we should have some great content to go along with the show.
Yeah.
That'll be awesome.
Absolutely. We'll get Wendy and Alyssa in here and talk about our trip and the gear. I know the AMS gear is going to...
Oh, yeah.
AMS gear is just outstanding.
It's never something you got to worry about. Don't have to worry about that.
Stuff works like awesome. Plus, it's made right here in the USA.
Absolutely.
Well, we hope you enjoyed the Carpinus Carpio podcast here on the Common Carp on the Bowfishing Buzz podcast presented by AMS Bowfishing and
Megamouth Bowfishing as well.
From all of us here at AMS Bowfishing, we wish you the best of luck. And remember, aim low
and think big. Thanks for listening, guys.